Welcome to TerraPulse News. Today we're covering major updates from two critical regions shaping global headlines in June 2025, Ukraine and the Middle East. Both areas remain deeply volatile with shifting military, political, and humanitarian dynamics. This is your in-depth look at the current situation, the background that got us here, and what could come next. We start with Ukraine. Now into its fourth year, the full-scale war between Russia and Ukraine shows no signs of nearing a definitive conclusion. After a brutal winter and a relatively quiet spring, the fighting has once again intensified. In the eastern Donbas region, Ukrainian forces have launched renewed efforts to retake territory lost during the early phases of the war. Reports from Ukrainian General Staff indicate incremental advances near Bakhmut and Avdiivka, though at a significant cost. Russian forces have reinforced these positions with conscripted troops, drones, and artillery, creating a deadly stalemate. Russian strategy has shifted in recent months. After heavy losses in manpower and equipment in 2023 and 2024, Russia is increasingly relying on missile barrages, glide bombs, and drone attacks to wear down Ukrainian infrastructure and morale. Over the past 2 weeks, multiple strikes have hit Ukraine's energy grid, particularly targeting substations in the Kyiv, Dnipro, and Lviv regions. Blackouts have been reported in several districts, and Ukrainian officials warn that these strikes may intensify as summer continues. Ukraine's Western allies remain firm in their support, although fatigue is becoming more evident in some European capitals. The United States, under the new administration, passed another $60 billion aid package in April 2025, which includes artillery, drones, and air defense systems. Germany and Poland have also increased logistical and training support. However, Hungary and Slovakia have called for a renewed push for negotiations, citing economic strain and domestic political backlash. President Zelensky continues to call for greater international support, especially, when it comes to advanced fighter aircraft and long-range missile systems. In his recent speech to the United Nations, he really emphasized the need for sustained attention on Ukraine, warning that global distraction could actually embolden Russian aggression. Zelensky also addressed ongoing concerns about corruption within Ukraine's defense sector, promising tighter oversight and international audits to make sure, that transparency is maintained. On the Russian side, President Putin has mostly avoided international forums, instead reinforcing the narrative that the war is a defensive struggle against NATO expansion. State media in Russia keeps portraying the conflict as existential, and honestly, any suggestion of compromise remains pretty much taboo within official discourse. Despite the growing casualties, there are no signs that Russia is preparing to de-escalate. In fact, analysts have noted an uptick in conscription across Siberia and the North Caucasus. Casualties on both sides remain high. According to British intelligence estimates, more than 500,000 troops have been killed or wounded since February 2022. Civilian deaths now exceed 80,000, and millions more have been displaced. The humanitarian situation, particularly in eastern Ukraine, is, dire. Aid agencies report limited access to food, water, and medical supplies, especially in areas close to active combat zones. International pressure for a ceasefire has grown. China recently offered to mediate new peace talks in Beijing, though neither side has shown willingness to make concessions. The Turkish government has also attempted to revive the grain corridor deal to ease the global food crisis worsened by blockades in the Black Sea. As of now, both diplomatic tracks remain stalled. Moving to the Middle East, tensions are once again escalating across multiple fronts. In Israel and Palestine, violence has surged following the collapse of indirect negotiations brokered by Egypt and Qatar in May. Israeli airstrikes have intensified in Gaza, following a wave of rocket attacks from militant groups including Hamas and Islamic Jihad. The Israeli Defense Forces say the strikes are targeted at weapons depots and tunnel networks, but local reports confirm dozens of civilian casualties. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues to worsen. The UN reports that over 70% of the population is without stable access to electricity or clean water. Hospitals are running on generators and facing severe shortages of medicine and supplies. Calls for an immediate ceasefire have come from the EU, the African Union, and various NGOs, but no progress has been made. Meanwhile, tensions have also flared in the West Bank, where settler violence and clashes between Palestinians and Israeli security forces have led to multiple fatalities. The Palestinian Authority has warned that the situation is spiraling out of control, accusing Israel of escalating actions that undermine any hope for renewed talks. The Israeli government, under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, maintains that all actions are in defense of Israeli citizens and national security. Hezbollah activity along Israel's northern border with Lebanon has also increased. Israeli officials claim several cross-border incursions were attempted, possibly probing weaknesses in the country's defenses. In response, Israel launched a limited strike inside southern Lebanon. This marks the most serious exchange of fire between the two since 2021, raising fears of a broader regional conflict. Iran's role in the region remains central. The Iranian government continues to support proxy groups across Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and Gaza. Recent intelligence reports suggest that Iran has supplied new drone and missile technology to both Hezbollah and Hamas, though Iran denies direct involvement. In April, a suspected Israeli airstrike killed a high-ranking Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps officer in Damascus, further escalating tensions between the two countries. In Syria, the situation remains volatile. Although ISIS no longer holds significant territory, sleeper cells have conducted sporadic attacks in the country's east. The Assad regime, backed by Russia and Iran, is trying to reassert full control, but the presence of Turkish, Kurdish, and American forces complicates the situation. The Syrian economy is in freefall, and millions remain internally displaced. Saudi Arabia and the UAE have largely distanced themselves from active conflict in recent months, focusing instead on regional economic development and diplomatic efforts. Riyadh's normalization process with Israel has stalled due to the Gaza conflict, and, well, public support within the kingdom remains low for formal relations while Palestinian suffering continues. However, Saudi Arabia continues to push for a broader Arab initiative to end the Israeli-Palestinian conflict through diplomatic means. One key development this month is the proposed Arab Peace Summit, scheduled to take place in Amman, Jordan later in June. Representatives from Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and the Palestinian Authority are expected to attend. The summit's goal is to present a united Arab position to the international community and pressure Israel and the United States into renewing a viable peace process. In Yemen, fragile progress has been made toward a sustainable ceasefire between Houthi rebels and the internationally recognized government, backed by the Saudi-led coalition. While the front lines have largely stabilized, occasional skirmishes and drone strikes continue. Humanitarian conditions in Yemen remain catastrophic, with famine and disease still widespread. Across the region, energy markets are watching closely. Oil prices have fluctuated in recent weeks due to tensions in the Strait of Hormuz and fears of supply chain disruptions. Any serious escalation between Israel and Iran or a naval incident in the Gulf could send prices soaring and disrupt global markets. In conclusion, both Ukraine and the Middle East remain at the center of global instability. The consequences of inaction or miscalculation in either region could reverberate far beyond their borders. Whether it's the ongoing humanitarian toll, the risk of escalation, or the geopolitical maneuvering of great powers, these are stories the world cannot afford to ignore. At TerraPulseNews, we remain committed to bringing you clear, fact-based reporting on the issues that matter most. If you found this update helpful, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a critical briefing. Thanks for watching, stay informed, stay grounded, and we'll see you in the next report.